Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I'm just going to wait a little bit for some people to jump in, mainly my guest today. I'm going to try to do a little bit more guest appearances on these Facebook Lives week to week. So I'm going to wait for my client, Randy. Edwin, good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. And whoever else in here, I could see like a few other people have jumped in. Thank you. I'm going to be interviewing Daniel. Good to see you. I'm going to be interviewing my client that I've just recently finished with, and one of our group members as well, Randy. And we're going to be talking about his transformation. So he's 59 years old. Javier, hey Javier, good to see you, man. Haven't seen you in forever. No, Nolan, good to see you as well. So I'm going to wait. Let me see if I could. Give me a sec, guys. I'm going to try to add Randy here if I see him. Justin, good to see you. Javier, good to see you as well. Hope all is well. And we're going to be talking about his journey today, and mainly like what he did to transform his physique. The main theme is, like a lot of people think, as you get older, Randy's here, but I'm going to do a quick intro. As you get older, working out gets tougher, and or fat loss in particular gets tougher. Well, that's actually not the case. Fat loss is actually very, very easy at any age, in my opinion. And we'll talk to Randy today about his transformation, and I'll kind of let him take over, talk about his journey and what he did, et cetera, and then hopefully there's some takeaways. So guys, just know, like at any age, it's possible to be in like the best shape of your life. Don't kind of succumb to this thinking of like, oh, you know, I'm already 30, 40, 50, et cetera. That's why it's getting hard. Most of the time, it just gets hard because you had poor lifestyle habits to begin with, and it just catches up with you very, very quickly into your 30s and 40s if those continue, or just a poor understanding of what you need to do in terms of how to use movement as medicine, what real nutrition is, what real stress management is, et cetera. And it becomes more evident into your 30s and 40s, et cetera. But it's not that it gets harder with age. It's just those bad habits really start catching up to you. So let me add Randy here. Randy, sending you a request right now. And Randy, Felix, good to see you guys, and we'll go from there. So give him one sec. Hey, what's up,
Hey,
Randy?
hey, hi. How you
I could
doing?
have, I'm like, well, I'm going to mess up this Facebook Live somehow. I watched like an instructional video on YouTube on how to add people and everything. And I'm like, oh, it's so simple, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to forget something because I'm
Well,
not
yeah,
that tech savvy. So
it worked just fine, and I was curious myself how this was going to work. So,
cool. So
yeah,
this is my second time doing a Facebook Live with a guest. I'm hoping to do it more often. But Randy, thanks for jumping in. Um, I like to have my guests take over and talk about their
okay,
journey, and then kind of shoot some questions here and there.
sure.
So for a quick introduction, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen Randy in the group already in his progression pictures. He actually came to me in okay shape already. He wasn't in bad shape to begin with, and he was already kind of training a lot and working out quite a bit. But he just had trouble like going that extra mile in terms of going from just kind of like semi-fit looking to like very ripped and shredded. And that's what we worked on together for about like 4 months or so.
Right.
And we'll talk about that. But before you even became fit, like in your before picture, for example, you're actually like much heavier even
Yes,
before that. So let's start like even like a few years before that, like what you feel kind of led to your weight gain, and then kind of
sure.
just take it from there and just swing it from there. So
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so I had been pretty fit most of my life. I was athletic, and as I aged, just a little bit, every year you would just put on a little bit of weight, and it really kind of sneaks up on you as you get older. And January of 2019 is when I kind of got really serious with my first attempt at getting back into shape and losing weight. And at that point, I was 225 pounds. And the reason I decided to get serious is because everyday life, everyday movements, reaching to put your seatbelt on or bending down to put your shoes on became more and more difficult. It just seemed like, this shouldn't hurt to reach and put your seatbelt on, or, You know, you just make these, you know, simple movements that all of a sudden become more difficult. I do live on a floating home, and we have to walk up a ramp to the road and to the cars, and even that, you know, started becoming a little bit more of a challenge. You know, my knees were starting to hurt, and I was having just, you know, just a little bit of, you know, feeling older, and I really didn't want that. You know, I wanted to like stay active as I aged, and so I really got serious about working out. And like you said, I worked out probably 2.5 years with a local trainer, and you know, really got down to, you know, a pretty decent weight, but never, you know, never to where I really wanted to be as far as being, um, you know, being able to see some definition, or, you know, the fat reduction just never really came along. And so um, I joined your Facebook group, I think a good year and a half before I ever reached out to you. I was kind of like watching the journeys that you know, the people you worked out, you know, you work with. And, you know, at first I saw a lot of younger people. You're like, you know, oh yeah, they can do that because they're in their 20s or their 30s. And then I started seeing some people my age that you worked out with, that you know, and some really great successes that I saw, and I thought, hey, you know, I want to do this too. And so, yeah, so I reached out to you, and I don't want to make this sound like it was simple, but it was a lot easier than I thought it would be, you know, because I put in a lot of work. I was used to putting in the workouts. So that part I was, you know, I knew I could do, but was I doing the right movements? Was I, you know, and then the nutrition, right? The nutrition was such a key for me. Um, it was, you know, I think organic, you know, for a long time, I really didn't really believe too much in that. I thought that was just more like way to charge more money, whatever. But you know, doing my research and listening to you, and all the things that, you know, I read your book, it really makes a difference. And so the eating was really super easy too. The way you you know, laid that out for me and for all your clients, I'm sure it was really simple. I mean, I am a person who likes a lot of different foods, so I mean, it was easy for me to like choose from the list and never really felt hungry. I mean, I was really struggling to eat as much as you really wanted me to before I got really full. So, um, super happy that I reached out to you. I know you have a passion for this, and that you really have a gift of being able to, you know, identify what the needs are for each individual client. It seems like you've gotten some really good successes. And anyway, I don't know if this is going along the lines of where you wanted it to go, but yeah, I'm 59, and I never thought that this would be possible. And yeah, I just, like I said, it seemed a lot simpler than I expected it to be. Um, and there was a point where it was like, I don't know, it just like, it just changed really fast. It's like, you know, if you saw the progression pictures, it's like, you know, they looked good, you know, from the first one to the next one. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Like the body fat just like really dropped. And I don't even really know what percentage I am, but you know, it's see some definition, and I'm very happy. So thank you. And you know, I just would challenge anybody that's sitting on the sidelines like I was for a year and a half, that if you really put the work in, and you really, you know, have the desire to do it, you have to make up, you know, this is the most important muscle in my opinion, is you got to make up your mind that this is something you want to do, that there's deeper reasons for you to want to do it. And mine was really to sustain activity as I age and do all the things I like to do. I like to paddleboard, you know, I like to stay active and hiking. So those things would become a challenge if I was carrying around all this extra weight, and really not, you know, not having a good core to really, you know, carry me through my life. So yeah, I'm curious to see where we'll go next. I'm going to continue to work with you, and we'll be doing some new things. So I'm excited for that.
Well, what do you feel like one of the things that kind of like I almost find a little bit comical and I hear in circles all the time is like people get in this mindset of like just decay is expected and natural after like 35 or so, and they just kind of grow to accept it and they just kind of grow reliant on like pharmaceutical drugs of all sorts,
Hmm.
although they seem to just get worse and worse year after year, although they're put on more and more drugs. But somehow they're like, well, this is working. And I'm like, well, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? It's
Yeah.
clearly not working. But I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you hear it in your circles often, like people just kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, just have been programmed to feel like they're powerless after a certain age and that it's natural to have like super high blood pressure, terrible cholesterol,
Yeah.
be on a couple of pharmaceutical drugs, like actually work out less as they age, which makes things worse.
Hmm.
Instead of you should become more and more physically active, but obviously, know how to use movement as medicine. You got to learn how to move properly too, because
Right.
we've all been injured, I'm sure, and the gym could help you, but it could also hurt you if you don't know what you're doing as well. So
Right.
there's that aspect to it. Like what goes through your head when you kind of hear it? I'm sure you have a few friends in your circles
Yeah.
that have spoken that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm really pretty lucky that I have, I came to you. I didn't need any. I was not on any medication. I was in pretty good health, so there was no reliance really on the pharmaceuticals. But yes, I have friends who have high blood pressure, who just, they're on these medications, and I try to get them to see that if you were just to move and exercise, with the right professional, that um, that it's going to make a difference, and then you can remove those from your life, at the right time. But I don't know. Some people just get so that's what you do. You go to the doctor, they prescribe you a drug, and you take it, and yeah, might help you in one thing, but it causes all this other stuff. So I'm just super happy that I'm not having to do that, and I don't think I will, if I continue to this journey and being healthy and active. Yeah, I'm that's gonna try to avoid that as long as I can, for sure.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people like they kind of describe a good doctor as a doctor that prescribes their medicine like very, very quickly. They get their medicine quite often. But I think the like good definition of a good doctor is one that actually takes you off medication as fast as possible, not prescribes more and more medication. Because a lot
Right.
of times people are like, oh, I have my doctor's amazing. He always like the second I need medications, I get it like right away. And then now I have like these three, and he makes sure I have all these three all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that's not a definition of a good healthcare provider. A
No, for
definition of a
sure.
good healthcare provider is one that, uh, remember, first and foremost, in order to really heal someone, you have to get them to stop abusing themselves. Because short of a car accident or some kind of genetic anomaly, it's most of the
Yeah.
time just the person that's doing it to themselves through poor lifestyle and nutritional habits.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, it's a behavioral change that has to happen to really come to the etiology and a resolution of even the most minor of health issues. Like I know I had, like I mentioned in many of my podcasts, um, issues with social anxiety, not like debilitating to the point of like wanting to commit suicide or any of that sort, but it's still like annoying enough to kind of
Hmm.
interfere with the quality of your life. And even that took, many years of going to like improv classes, acting classes to overcome stage fright, um, getting even a dance instructor, for example, like a private dance instructor to help me with that. And like
Hmm.
various other things, like kind of being more social, learning from your social experiences, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So it always comes down to like if you want a complete resolution of something, it always comes down to like a behavioral change and
Right.
not just like uh, not just how fast and how many pills like my doctor can prescribe me. So
Right.
that's my take. And also like one thing, yeah. Did you want to add something?
Well, yeah, I mean, just a little bit around more kind of the other areas that you really work with me and your clients on, and that is some of the takeaways that I feel like also was a success, helped me in my journey, was like water intake is so important, right? So like you really got to focus on drinking your water. I mean, it's something that you really have to like. I had to consciously do, and I know like Monday through Friday, I do much better drinking my water because I'm kind of more structured. But on the weekends, it's like all of a sudden, it's like if you're not constantly thinking, I've got to drink my water, you can go a pretty long time without it. So drinking the water, the sleep was very, important. That, getting the right amount of sleep that you need to get is going to just only help with the success of what you're trying to accomplish. And the movements and the intensity, all those things that is all part of the whole, package that you brought to me. And, if you listen to Eugene and you do what he tells you to do, um, I think everyone should have great success. So I appreciate all those other pieces that you brought along. That was not just the diet and the exercise, but all those other little parts that all add up to success. So yeah, don't drink your calories. That was one thing I remember you saying. Don't drink your calories, and that's wise advice, because those are just wasted calories, and you should allow yourself every now and then, but yeah, don't you know make your wise decisions. And I think planning was really a key too, because I did start this journey before Thanksgiving and had to go through all the holidays. We chatted about that before. Like I said, I think this might be a bad time to start, and you said no, I think it's a perfect time to start. And you just really have to make your mind up and really plan for those odd days. Like, okay, well, what am I going to eat today? And you go, there's always choices you can make that will still allow you to partake and not feel like you're not losing and giving up on anything, So just really planning it, and meal planning is really important. That's also a key. I mean, if you don't have something ready to go when you are time to eat, sometimes you'll make some bad choices and eat some things that are convenient and easy. So making sure that was important for me, making sure that my meals were ready to go. Um, I feel lucky because I've been working from home, so it kind of lent to a really easier time for me to like meal prep and then be successful. I know that I did have a couple business trips. I'm just adding things, a couple business trips during this time too, and that was always a challenge because it's put you out of your normal uh, routine, and then now you're trying to make those choices like, okay, what can I eat? So I tried to make some good decisions about what to bring with me. You gave me some great suggestions, but yeah, it's just really making up your mind that this is important, and you really want to be successful at it. And then, like I said, it was once you did that, it was pretty simple. um, you got to put the work in. You got to really want to put in the hard work, and um, but I think we're all here to do that. So
Yeah, and then in terms of traveling, I used to travel quite a bit. I always tell people like, hey, if you travel, always try to get like an Airbnb at least. That way you have like a kitchen accessible to you and you could always stop by like a grocery store on the way there. And then
mhm.
just kind of pick up what you normally eat anyways. And usually they have like everything you pretty much need to be able to cook at the Airbnb if it's like a good host. And then it's pretty much all the same. And of course it depends on how important it is for you at that time. But I know we're preparing for like after pictures, so it kind of was a bit more important to stay on point with everything. But that's like one thing that's worked well for me over the years. And I kind of did the same thing, spent a couple months in India, China, Japan, pretty much did the same exact model, and it worked like really well. Um, then I feel with family too. Like one thing people can do is always if they go hang out with their family, once again, before you go to their place, just stop by the grocery store, get what you need, and if your dad likes to cook for you or your mom likes to cook for you or whatever, just have them cook that for you in
Mhm.
terms of like what you would eat normally anyways, and they'll be like, I never had anyone bring up any issues with doing that, and in fact, it's kind of like I think nice because then they feel like they don't have to buy your food too. It's
Right,
like you're kind
right.
of like paying for yourself as well, which I feel is pretty cool.
Well, that's
So
great because I'm about ready to go visit my family for 3 weeks, and I've got plans to do that, and um, it'll be fun because they'll learn too, and they'll yeah, mom likes to cook for me, so yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like all the time too. I always wonder like why appreciation always has to revolve around food for a lot of people. Like you could do like a million different activities with people,
Hmm.
but all the time people just seem to kind of default to like, oh, let's get together and go out and have like maybe not even drinks, but just have food at a restaurant. And it's always because of an average person's level of activity and their generally poor metabolism, they really can't afford like even eating out like a few times a week. Like last time I checked, I think according to kind of my research, like a single salad at a yard house could be up to like 1,200 calories for like a single salad. And
Hmm.
oftentimes that surpasses the caloric needs of like a very small female for their whole entire daily calorie intake. And they're kind of like eating this food and they're thinking they're making like healthy choices and they're wondering why they're always like 20, 30 pounds overweight. And then all the time, like even when you eat out, you have to remember that even if you pick like a good healthy choice, like a single pound of chicken breast is
Hmm.
like about 500 calories, okay? But then they cook that chicken breast, and let's say even if it's higher quality oils like olive oil, they have about like 2 tablespoons. That adds another 300 calories right there. Then they usually put some kind of sauce on it that adds another 200 calories. So you're like
Hmm.
at 1,000 calories for like a single chicken breast, which kind of on the surface looks like very healthy, but in a sense, once again, causes you to kind of surpass that
Yeah.
caloric intake pretty quickly. And as you've seen with your weight, because we kept daily weigh-ins every morning, the times when you did eat out, it always bumped up like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then when you went back to eating at home and using that kind of calorie chart we created together, it became like very, very streamlined and very, very predictable week to week in terms of your results. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
yeah. So, um, well, let's talk about like your fitness journey. Even because I remember, I think if I remember correctly, I had Jerry do the fitness assessment with you, but you didn't sign up in the beginning, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Um, do you feel did you have some apprehension about online coaching? Because I feel there's a misconception also in terms of like they get better quality coaching in person, where oftentimes that's not the case at all. And I'll explain in a second why, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
get your
Yeah.
opinions.
No, good point because that's part of the reason why it took me so long to even like reach out um, and do this with you is because of the virtual part of it. And I was like, I'm not really sure how that's going to work, right? I mean, especially the assessment because the I was working out with a Czech practitioner before in the first 2 years, where I did a physical assessment, like the assessment, body movement, measurements, everything, and it was done in person. And so I thought, well, how are you going to do that from remotely, virtually, and um, so there is some of that. I think for some people, how is that going to work? Is it going to be successful? And I just kept going back to looking at your clients, right, and seeing the journeys they've been on and what success they had. And I say, well, if they're having good success and he's doing this completely remote, and some of these people were even working from home, like working out at home with bands and stuff. It's like they're making great success. So I thought that can't be the issue for me. It's got to be, I'm going to step in and take that chance that this is also going to work for me. So yeah, I think that there is some of that people do have a misconception. I certainly had it for a while about, will virtual training work for me? You kind of think, well, I've had this success in person with a trainer. Is it even going to do anything more because um, I think what I was doing before was more group training, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I thought that was, I mean, it certainly was more fun. I want to say it was more interactive and fun, but I think sometimes the intensity around those workouts are kind of like they're trying to, do everything for, maybe 5, 10 people at a time, and they're not really giving you individual attention. So um, it took me a little bit when I moved away from the group and then working with you and going by myself to the gym. Um, and you know, the fun aspect of it seemed to like, oh, is this going to be fun? I was thinking, how is this going to be fun? Because I enjoyed like the group, but I found it to be even more enjoyable on my own because I was like challenging myself and um, the amount of workout you give, the movements that you have me do. I mean, you really have to be focused and you have to like do your rest and stay on track and not get distracted because they're you know you can do them, but they're going to take you some effort. And some of these movements I hadn't done before, so it's like I had to look at your videos and say, okay, how do I do this? Am I doing it right? And so I mean, like you said in some of your videos, is you have to plan this, you have to prepare and be ready when you get to the gym. That's your time to make it work for yourself. Try not to be social. You're going to be focused. Be thinking about what you're going to do next while you're waiting and resting. What's the next thing you're going to do? Get prepared and mentally. So it really became enjoyable working out on my own, and I think the intensity piece is what I'm trying to get to is what made a difference because in the group am I really doing the hardest I can do? Um, More social maybe, but this really made a difference of it was just me. I was doing it just for me. And yeah. So I don't know if I got off track there, but what were you talking about?
No, that's
We were
pretty.
talking
I
about,
always don't worry, Randy. I always do that too. I go on tangents and then I'm like, oh, I forgot the original question. But you answered it well in terms of comparing like in-person training to online training.
right,
Um, yeah, I mean, to hit on some points, I always try to, just like you mentioned, I don't, I'm not only there in the gym for that particular session for the results that it would give me, but I'm also there to kind of like mentally train myself every single workout, like train myself to be more focused. Like sometimes I always turn my phone on airplane mode regardless. But if a person can't do that, if they have trouble doing that, I would always recommend that they leave their phone in the car and just buy like a very, very cheap stopwatch.
right,
You can get it on Amazon for like $5 or something like that. And that's like one of the biggest keys. I find one of the things that kind of holds people back from having intense workouts in the gym is kind of like you mentioned, they just don't have like a game plan. And I mentioned that in my live last week.
yeah,
They just go in there and they kind of maybe watch like a YouTube video on what their fitness influencer was doing that day, and then they try to copy that. But most often they just take it out of context because what's right for that person or what stage of training they're in might not be, most likely isn't the right thing for the person
right,
watching that video. But I find just having like a solid printout of your workouts and a game plan that matches your goals well kind of gives you more intention and more purpose in the gym while you're there. So when you go in there, I have to do this, this, this because I want to accomplish this. And it just gives you more direction and purpose just by doing that alone.
yeah,
And then always just training yourself like, oh, I could have done that set more intensely with better technique. Oh, that technique was pretty good, but it could have been a little sharper, or the mind muscle connection could have been a little bit better there. And then really just focusing on not talking to people in the gym, as bad as that sounds, but just really
yeah,
being focused on yourself and development, because I work like 2 days a week. So I have more free time that I know what to do with most of the time. But a lot of people don't have that free time. And a lot of times that gym time is their only time to really focus on themselves. It's kind of like their
right,
me time. So you should be focused on yourself and kind of improving yourself there in the direction you want to go. Because if you don't get, a lot of times in a fitness journey, if you don't have enough me time in your schedule, you get burned out at work, then you get disgruntled towards your employees, whatever you're doing there, etc., because you're not
right.
getting like your needs met. And then whenever you want something to last long term, I always tell people you have to have your needs met first, whether it be a relationship that you want to last long term or like a job that you want to last long
Hmm.
term. Because if your needs aren't met first,
Right.
you're gonna feel that disconnection over a long enough time period, and that's gonna kind of really drag down your like mental and physical health long enough,
Hmm.
simply because of the you can just look up chronic stress theory of disease. Just everything will lead down that path, and then you'll have hormonal disruption, and
Right.
then eventually, you get disgruntled towards your employees or employer because you want to be doing this, but you have to be doing that,
Hmm.
and you just feel like you never have enough time for yourself. I mean, it's obvious. I don't have to kind of elaborate more on that,
Right.
but that's a super important piece of a health journey that I feel a lot of people just completely miss out on altogether. Um, they just kind of focus on like, well, I just need to like work out more and eat a little bit better. And they don't even know what the definition of eat a little bit better is. Oftentimes when
Hmm.
a person says, oftentimes a lot of people that are like 30 or 40 pounds overweight, they come to me and they're like, I eat healthy. And I'm like, dude, that's an indication that the person doesn't even know what healthy is. And a simple question for them would be like, I would ask, oh, what is your definition of healthy? And they kind of say something like, oh, like I eat a little bit less, or
Yeah.
I've done keto like a year ago or something like that. But for some reason, they've always fallen off, et cetera, because they never got to the etiology of why they gained all that weight to begin with. Um,
Right.
but but stuff of that sort. So I just kind of went on a tangent too. I forgot exactly the talking point we started at. So like attracts like.
Uh-huh. I think we were talking about like we started off talking about like the virtual aspect, but um, I want
Oh,
to
yes.
also mention some of the things that I've heard you on your lives is like you touched on a little bit was I made kind of made a mental note when I was at the gym and like looking at these same people that come in all the time. And, I was there for 4 weeks. I mean, 4 months. And, I had a few people come up and comment to me like, what are you doing? I'm seeing a big difference in you. So, I would, tell them about you and, whether they reached out or not, I don't know. But I would be looking around at all the other people that kept coming consistently, and I didn't see any change. And I looked at their movements, and it's like they're doing the same thing every day, like they're doing the same routine every day, and it's like no change. And it's like that's exactly what Eugene was talking about. Like they're putting in the effort somewhat, but why aren't they getting results? And it's like, um, yeah, it's just, and it might be intensity. They're doing the same weight, same movement. I feel like you got to really move your body, and you got to switch it up for your body to like not get used to like a certain movement because all of a sudden it's like, oh, this old thing again, right? Um, so anyway, I just can't say enough good things about the programs you put together, and every month we get something new to do, and it's exciting to do the new movements. Um, and yeah, I think you have a gift and you're in the right seat and your passion is right where, you're right where your passion is. So super happy that I found you and that you're doing what you're doing and you're little by little, you're making changes in people's lives. And I hope you know that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's one of the best parts of the job, running
Yeah.
into like people that are like, oh, I've been trying this for like so many months and or years or whatever, and then
Yeah.
uh, you find a solution for them, like a very quick solution for them, and that's always like good to see, to reinstill that confidence that hey, it's possible. You
Right.
don't have
Right.
to you don't have to give up and live a life of decay for the rest of your life.
Now I just got to grow a beard like you.
Yeah, that's hey,
You know?
that adds like 10 pounds of muscle appearance
I
just
know.
right there.
I got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to touch on the in-person trainer, Czech practitioners are actually like very knowledgeable, especially the higher level ones. They go
Hmm.
through about, I'd say, like 6 to 7 years of schooling to get that title to level 4 and above guys.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't know about in-person training is actually you don't have to have any credentials to be an in-person trainer. I know that's shocking to a lot of people, but literally all you have to do is just say you're an in-person trainer and that's it. And then just
Hmm.
have some kind of health insurance program,
Yeah.
some fitness insurance program that's about like $200 a year. coverage and a CPR certification, which you can do online, or there's like a weekend course to get it
Yeah.
done. And that's it. That's all you have to do to be like, quote unquote, an in-person training guru. And that's it. And a lot of people presume that there's a lot of like schooling that goes into it and stuff of that sort, possibly like physical therapy level schooling, but it's not
Right.
the case. And it's kind of like a little bit silly because, for example, like to be a physical therapist and to teach people how to use bands all day, like you need to spend about like $120,000 to get a PhD in physical therapy and go through, I forgot how many years of school,
Right.
but
Right.
quite a bit of years of school to show people how to use bands basically. But to be an in-person trainer and have like doing a back squat with 225 on 225 total, like zero credentials whatsoever. So a
Hmm.
lot of times people that seek out in-person trainer are actually getting very, very bad service. And they just don't know because they think there's a lot of schooling that goes into it. There really isn't. And
Yeah.
some quick indications that the training is not good. I mean, most of the time, if they just have you sign a quick waiver and do like a quick like Q&A and then kind of throw you into a bunch of workouts, that's like a huge red flag because
Yeah.
uh, with even a first time healthy client, like a proper assessment takes an hour and a half, like 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours if they have like a little bit of nagging joint issues that you want to take into consideration, whereas
Right.
or like various lifestyle issues, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that if even if your medical doctor spends like 10 minutes with you, 15 minutes with you upon first meeting you, that's an indication that you just need to find someone else that has a business practice that actually facilitates the patient instead of the business.
Hmm.
And then also just the biggest thing is I don't care about how much you know until I know about how much you care. That's huge in with any health provider, okay? Because
Right.
I've run into some people that are very competent, but for one reason or another, it could be they're just burned out at the work, or they just don't care about you, or they're just overworked, or whatever. Uh, they just don't care about your health and well-being, so they're also equally useless for the most part. And like another huge red flag is if you get the trainer that you show up and they're like, what do you want to train today? You know,
Yeah.
do you want to do chest? What did we do yesterday? And they're like not keeping, they should be providing like a very detailed, comprehensive, fully periodized program to you. If they're giving you any nutrition consulting, they should have a streamlined way of communicating that knowledge with you and make it very, very easy and realistic to apply with real world demands,
Hmm.
focus on various other lifestyle variables with you and have a streamlined process. This should all be given to you as a program, not just kind of coffee shop talk, like giving random advice here and there in a non-structured and organized way. So oftentimes if that's not provided also, that's like a huge, huge red flag because every single profession keeps records of everything, but for some reason, in-person trainers, like 99.9% of them just don't.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
show up and they just kind of randomly throw some stuff at you. And people think they associate like tough workouts with good quality workouts, where I could just stand on one leg semi flexed, for example, and it's very, very difficult. But am I going to build very muscular legs doing that? No. So there's often also a disconnect between intensity giving you results where that's actually not the case a lot of times. Like properly applied intensity for that
Hmm.
person's goal and for that person's ability is where it needs to be at. And to give people an example, like I hired Dr. Stuart McGill. So he's a world leading low back pathology researcher, okay, like a long
Yeah.
time ago. And he just focuses just on the low back. So that's it, just basically 5 vertebrae and the surrounding tissue there. And even that assessment took like 3.5 hours.
Wow.
So just to give you an idea of like what a real proper like thorough assessment needs to be like. And if that's not provided to the customer, then you just need to find someone else
Right.
because the quality of service I guarantee you is going to be like very, very bad in any health domain, whatever you're struggling with.
Right.
So that's just from my experience. And that's actually one of the reasons why I got out of in-person training, because I just got kind of tired of seeing that. There's various other reasons. I also wanted a lot more independence and freedom of travel and stuff of that sort. But that's like one of the things. And it kind of
Right.
always hurt me to see a kind of like a person like yourself paying for a service, really believe in it. But most of the time, even with the trainers, I'm sure even with the people at the gym you're going at, they kind of look the same like year
Yeah.
after year as well, simply because it's just they're showing up and they do random stuff, and then that's
Yeah.
it. And that's
Yeah.
the typical quality um, you see these days. So one other thing, Randy, I always kind
Yeah.
of tell people that like if you have like a corporate job, it's going to be very, very tough to optimize your mental and physical health. You kind of semi proved me wrong on that statement. Although typically you're actually working remote, which is one of the things I always tell my clients to try to do, because
Hmm.
that frees up that extra 3 to 4 hours a week that you need to really kind of get those workouts in. Can you kind of
Yeah.
describe your experience with working in person and how transitioning to remote actually just gave you possibly that right amount of time to really achieve your goals in a timely manner?
Sure. Yeah. Of course, when the pandemic started, it was March of 2020 is when I started working from home. And I work for a credit union about an hour away. So it took me, that'd be 2 hours of my day, right? Driving to and from work. And, so instantly I got that time back. I mentioned I live on a floating home. So it feels like, um, you know, when I'm done with my day, I can go really quickly and paddleboard if I want to. So, I mean, the quality of life instantly for me improved. I mean, I enjoy my job so that, and I have a beautiful drive to my work. So it wasn't necessarily like a drudgery, but I got 2 hours of my day back, right, to do something for myself. So that was easily to incorporate, many of the things that I needed to do for this. And that was like meal prepping, you know, um, going to the gym, maybe not quite as early as I would have to, making sure I got more sleep, right? Because I was, having more time not to have to like get up and drive. So that really worked to my advantage. And during this, pandemic time, a lot of my friends, even if they were working from home, they weren't having the same experience for some reason. I don't know. They were finding it difficult. They were finding it as, you know, an excuse to put weight on and or whatever. And I just had the totally opposite experience where it's like my quality of life went up. I was able to do the things that I maybe didn't have time for before, and just really feel blessed that I was able to work from home. And I still am going to work from home. I'll probably go into the office, one day a week now instead of 5 days a week. So, um, yeah, so I don't know if that answered your question, but it, you know, um, I know a lot of your clients do have corporate jobs and sit a lot and like I do and they do some travel, so that does create some additional challenges, but um, I think you put your mind to it and what's important, to you, you'll find a way to do it. And it's like I said earlier, I think it's always found for myself, I have to make my mind up that this is important, this is what I'm going to do, and then I do it. And my mom always said that once you made up your mind about something you wanted to do, I had to get out of your way because you were going to do it. So it's just find out what's important to you. Your health should be probably one of the top things that should be important to you in your life, and just do the right things for yourself and find someone like Eugene to guide you, and it'll be great.
Yeah, personally, I've noticed just like positive feedback from when clients transition to remote work, especially when it came to being able to do the program a lot easier. Not that the program is that intensive anyways. Like for example, I didn't even have Randy do any cardio of any sort. It was just like a strictly weightlifting routine, right? Like 4 to 5 times a week for like
Yep.
45 to 60 minutes a session. Um, but even that, I just feel like discipline is good and everything, and making up your mind is good and everything, but just having an environment that also facilitates and makes things a lot easier is a great plus also. And I feel it makes it like far more sustainable long term, because 2 hours drive to work every week, that's like presuming 5 days a week you're going there, that's like 10 hours. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of hours. And for my estimate, that to have like a great body aesthetically and great health, it is about like a 10-hour a week investment, because it's about like 6-ish hours for the
Yeah.
workouts if you count like driving to the gym, et cetera, and then about like 4-ish hours for like random errands and stuff of that sort related to optimizing your workouts, such as grocery shopping, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Although now with like, for example, Amazon Fresh, you could just have stuff delivered to your door for like $10. You could just determine what you need for a whole week, have it
Yep.
delivered every Sunday, and that could eliminate just like 1 hour or 2 hours of errands, just like right there, for example. Or they can order meats from, like I shared with you,
Hmm.
AmericanGrassFed.org, where you order
Yep.
from AZ grass-raised beef and just buy how much you need for a few months, and then
Yep.
just put it all in the freezer and then just kind of pick it as you go. That's another time economical uh, thing as well. So,
And I find that to be fun. I must, maybe not everybody does, but the meal prepping and the planning that, and what I'm going to make for this week, and I find that to be exciting and fun. So not everybody does, but so that part too was just really cool to do, and I know I'll continue that for the rest of my life for sure.
cool. And yeah,
Yeah.
one other thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm sure you hear this often as well, is like I mentioned in the beginning, is a lot of people do say like, oh, like losing weight becomes like very tough with age or something like that, or but not the case. I mean, Randy, I think lost like 23 pounds of body fat in like a 4-month period or something of that sort. But I feel like um, one of the reasons for that statement is that the person that would typically say that already had like poor lifestyle and nutritional habits in their 20s. And it just became more obvious in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, because typically what happens is um, people take on more demands as they age. Typically, you kind of move up in seniority in your company, you
Hmm.
have more responsibilities. So, whatever uh, little negatives or inconsistencies you had with your health, with your lifestyle and your nutrition in your 20s are just magnified in your 30s and made even worse in your 40s and
Right.
50s. And I think one of the biggest negatives too is that, unfortunately, like I mentioned many times, 9 out of 10 Americans these days are metabolically unhealthy. And in a typical corporate office, I mean, pretty much the majority of people, like probably 90+% of people you run into, are just very overweight, full of mental and physical pain, and it's been kind of normalized. So
Hmm.
maybe the person in question is kind of overweight themselves, but the fact that their coworkers are so much overweight, or so much more miserable and full of pain, in comparison, it doesn't look like you're actually in bad health. But in reality, just everyone there is in bad health. It's just the standards have dropped so much. And then unfortunately, a lot of these people, they rely on like boot camps and stuff like that to solve their issues, but oftentimes it just makes it like worse. Boot camps or pharmaceutical drugs of
Hmm.
sorts like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Randy, do you want to cover any other topics or touch on anything else that you find could help someone that's looking to, um, to make the leap and kind of transform their mental and physical health for the better?
I don't know. I think I've said pretty much everything I was thinking about. I'll just state it again that if you are part of this group and you're considering possibly wanting to do this with Eugene, um, I would just challenge you to just whatever is standing in your way, just try to remove that and go for it, because you'll be super happy you did. He'll make it as easy as possible, and you just really have to put in the work. You have to like listen to, like I've had a few people from the group reach out to me, and I just tell them, listen to what he says and do everything he says, because it's going to work for you. And he's going to provide a custom program for you, because he's going to evaluate what your needs are, and it's going to be successful. So just challenge anybody out there that was like I for about a year thinking about it. Take that leap, and yeah, you'll be very, very happy you did, and You got to take care of yourself, right? I think to some degree you touched on this a little bit. It's hard for people to make themselves the number one priority because we're so used to always wanting to like give to other people, and we don't take care of ourselves first, and it feels a little bit selfish to some degree that like I'm going to take care of myself first. But you touched on it. It's like you have to do that before you can give anything to anybody else. So
Hmm.
making yourself a priority should not be selfish. It's really investing in yourself so that you can give to other people. So if you can flip that around mentally and realize that who else is going to take care of you but yourself, right? You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just like anything, you could only give as much love and energy as you have, So if you don't have much love and energy to give because you're not taking care of yourself first, you're just going to grow disgruntled to the people you're with, to the work you do. And that's
Right.
just going to set up a negative, insidious, chronic stress cycle that's going to lead to all sorts of mental and physical pain in your life. And then, unfortunately, most people are just going to, like I mentioned, go to the doctor, get some medication. But in my thinking, it's like, well, if you have a rock stuck inside your shoe, wouldn't it be a better idea just to take the rock out and walk comfortably instead of take
Hmm.
painkillers and continue to walk with that rock inside your shoe, which is
Right.
pretty much
Right.
exactly what America is doing, which is beyond retarded. And they wonder why they're getting more obese and sick their entire life. I think America is probably
Yeah.
like the sickest nation now on the planet, although they have so many trillions of dollars invested in all this fancy medical technology, but people are just getting sicker and full of more disease. And I heard
Hmm.
Paul Chek mention that in about, I forgot exactly the years he mentioned, but maybe in like 50 to 100 years, 100% of Americans will develop cancer in their lifetime. And 50% of those will die from it. And right now, it's not actually that far off. It's like about 60% of Americans develop cancer in their lifetime, and half of those die from it. So almost like 1/4 of the people on this chat right now will die from cancer, and half of them will actually develop it in their lifetime, which is super crazy to
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, and people are playing the lottery and thinking they're going to win the lottery, but they're not worried. They're not worried about this 50% chance of developing cancer in their lifetime, which is mainly the byproduct of poor lifestyle and nutritional choices.
Hmm.
In the bulk majority of cases, not in every case, but the bulk majority of cases.
Yeah.
So, Randy,
Yes.
thank you for being
Yeah. Thank
thank you for
you.
being on the live. It's always great to hear from my clients. Honestly, I really didn't think you would sign up way back when, so I'm happy that you did, and really happy for your pictures. And personally, I didn't think the pictures would look that great. I'm just going to be honest, but you really surpassed like my expectations for what you were able to achieve.
Great. Well,
So
thank you. Like I said, it was a fun journey, and we're going to continue. And did surprise myself too. It's just like I didn't think it would be possible to actually see any definition. And so, yeah, it
yeah, and
it
just for the
worked.
listeners that haven't seen Randy's pictures, so his new nickname is like Mr. Shredder. Okay, he went beyond just the definition. He's like high definition crystals, you know, whereas like abs have abs. Anyways, if you haven't seen the pictures, check them out in the group. I have it posted in a few posts. Check them out, and it's totally possible. Okay, guys, so don't give up on yourself.
All right.
Okay, thank you,
Perfect.
Randy.
Thank you for the
Thanks, guys.
opportunity.
Tim, good
Okay.
to see you. Joe, thanks for jumping in. All you guys, thank you.
Bye.